everyone. My name is Alessio. I'm the founder and CEO of Forward Fooding, and I'm thrilled to have here today Lea Blanchard from GastroCampo as part of our series of webinars, Women in Food Tech in Spain. So without further ado, I would like to invite Lea to tell us a bit more about what do you guys do at GastroCampo?
Sure, yeah, gladly, Alessio. So GastroCampo is a digital marketplace that helps chefs source sustainable ingredients directly from the producer, and we're shortening the supply chain and making it fairer for the planet and for people.
That's fantastic. And can you tell us a little bit more about the genesis of the company? Like, where did the original idea came from, and kind of what were your first steps that you've taken, to validate that there was an opportunity to build this venture?
Right, yeah. So it all started when we left our careers at multinational companies. I was in Amazon, and Sophia, my co-founder, was in Privalia. And Sophia started a dark kitchen business. So she was offering sustainable menu, and I was bringing sustainable catering to companies. But what we both quickly realized, and we were really appalled by, was the lack of digital tools for chefs or restaurant owners like us to source our ingredients, and the tremendous lack of transparency. Because as a restaurant or a chef, you have to heavily rely on word of mouth to find the best producers and with the greatest products for your menu. But you have really no idea what to source them from. You rely on wholesalers' catalogs, but most of the time you don't even know what you're looking for, and you cannot know who's the person behind it. How is a product packaged, for example, or where does the food come from? You really do not have key product information. So this is why we decided we have to do something about it, because as a consumer, in the 21st century, you can buy anything online, Amazon, or even on more sustainable platforms. You can compare prices, you can do everything, but as a company, as a food business, it's still super hard. There's no digital way to do that. So we decided to create GastroCampo. So it basically came out of our own personal experiences of having this restaurant and catering company.
That's awesome. And I remember meeting your girls a couple of years ago now, while you were running your own business before, I guess, deciding to build a GastroCampo.
Yeah.
Can you tell us maybe also a little bit about how you actually met, and what led you to build, GastroCampo? As in, what were the kind of findings while you were running your ventures independently that you then merge to actually, I guess, give birth to what GastroCampo is today?
Yeah, you're right. Sophia and I met 2 or 3 years ago. 2 or 3 years ago now in Barcelona, in the Founder Institute. So it's an incubator for early stage, or actually projects at idea stage. And we were very few women founders, and we both had a food idea, food related project. And so we met there, and we both started the company. So Mother Catering for me, and the Dark Kitchen for Sophia. We were both working part-time at the time, so we were trying to push both projects. It was really hard, but we also took this time to get to know each other, and we basically started the projects and the companies at the same time. So we have also similar backgrounds. So I think that helped us to get to know each other little by little and see that we can work together, and we have the same objectives and the same visions of where we want to get to. So I think
That's awesome.
yeah.
That's fantastic, Leah. Thanks for sharing that very openly. And the reason why I asked this question was really also to give other, or to encourage other women who might be pondering, how they should be going about starting, a new business, and wondering, where to start from. Really, that there are also organizations out there that can support you, like taking the first steps, and even like taking the leap of like building a venture. But also places where you could find a co-founder, which I guess has been instrumental also for you girls to deciding to go together on this journey of building GastroCampo.
Yeah.
Fantastic. This leads me to another question, as we talked about the journey. So looking back at your journey as one of the co-founder of GastroCampo, what is the moment that stand out to you along that journey? Like, what was the kind of like wow moments that you had that said that made you, kind of do the take the decision of building this venture?
Building it.
Or in general,
Um,
I guess is, it's been a roller coaster, I'm sure. So if you
yeah,
want
there's
to
so many
share
moments.
just
Like I
some of
would
the
say
highlights.
yeah, the eureka moment, let's say,
Yeah.
really was like a few months ago when we started contacting a lot of producers for the platform and a lot of chefs. So after all these months working on your idea, on your project, and you finally get this the value proposition correctly, you get the sales pitch correctly, even though your product is still not perfect, but you get this good, and you get the chefs and the producers telling you, yes, yes, I really want to be on it, when do we start? This was really a key moment in our journey that convinced us even more that we are on the right track and we're building something that will impact positively people and that is helping them.
Absolutely, and I mean, I can relate more to the fact that there is a lack of transparency really in the supply chain, especially when it comes to sourcing products from producers. Nobody knows, I guess, where they come from, and so digitizing, on the one end, that part of the process and streamlining it, as well as bringing more, I guess, transparency, to who's producing, actually the food is definitely a great way to solve one of the issues that I think your clients, are facing, which is, providing also to their end customers a better visibility of, where the producers come from. So
Definitely.
that's fantastic, and I'm sure it took you a lot of customer development activities to actually find the right value proposition and really tackling, the biggest problem for your clients.
Yeah, I mean,
And
remember we are in pandemic time as well, so yeah, it was
yeah,
hard.
I can imagine. So, talking about our things, what are what did you face? Did you face any problems over the course of your journey, and how did you tackle those problems?
Yes, I mean, of course, problems always arise.
Oh, you wouldn't be an entrepreneur otherwise, right? If you didn't like solving problems.
I guess so. I mean, startupping is really hard, anyways. But we did face a typical marketplace challenge. So, is it the chicken or the egg first? We know all the theory behind lean startup, but we found that the reality was quite different. And in the end, the best way to tackle problems for us was to make the decision that will, might or may cost you the least. So you never know, but you really try to narrow down to what should you do. You make the decision thinking this is going to be the cheapest in terms of money, of time, of resources that you need to invest. So our approach really has been let's do field research and get feedbacks. And in a nutshell, it was a lot of trial and error.
Lea, how have you found being a woman has shaped up your journey in food tech? And what I mean by that is, what were the kind of moments where, as a woman, you think you could have leveraged your strengths to overcome some of the challenges you faced? And in general, why did you choose food in the first place? Why did you choose to build, a food tech marketplace?
Yeah. Um, so being a woman in the food industry is definitely easier than being a woman in tech industry. So if you combine both, it does bring quite a balance. We do feel that we we have to work harder than men to be taken seriously, whether it is in food tech or any other industry. I think this does apply anyways. We were quite lucky because most of the time we deal with really nice people. We develop great relationships. I mean, people do treat us rather equally, but there's still a few others that really, really do not. Um, I mean, we have to say also there's the other topic that being a woman founder is quite a trendy topic these days. But if there's something we really do not like being told, is that we will make it just because we're women. I mean, if we create a valuable company, we really believe it is because of our efforts and not because of our gender.
Absolutely. Yes, I can't agree more about that. I guess after all, it boils down to creating value for your customers, right? No matter of your gender, your ethnicity, whatever. So it's
Exactly.
just, I think, interesting to share this because I think it can encourage, also more women to I guess feel comfortable about, uh, embarking on an entrepreneurial journey. And this is I think this applies in food tech as in any other industry, right? But I think hearing your positive experience can really inspire also others to follow a similar path. And building on this, do you have any advice for women who want to start their career in the food tech sector as an entrepreneur or as a professional?
Yes, investigate.
Investigate.
You,
Do your
you
own
better
work.
know where you put your feet in. You need to know the sector you're getting yourself into, and there's no real clear path or way to do so. Like most of the time, we literally just jumped into the pool with our clothes on. You know, we learned a lot. That just small investigations as to who is who in the industry, who leads, what type of management they have, and actually there we can think who is the leader, is it a woman or is it a man. This has an impact, fortunately or unfortunately, but it does give you heads up. So this links back to your previous question, our experience as women in food tech. We think that more than men, we need to show that we have the knowledge to make sure we are taken seriously. So this would be the advice. Do your investigation, do your small research, because you need to have a heads up.
That's a very good gold piece of nugget that I think a lot would I mean would definitely need be valuable for other people, other women, starting this journey. And we're coming to an end of this interview, so just a couple of more questions. And obviously, GastroCampo is a company which loves to bring together the worlds of food and tech. Why do you think using creativity to come up with new solutions in the world of agri food tech is actually so important?
Yeah, I mean, the food industry is really unlike any other. Like without the food, would the world stop spinning? So the problem is, in the food industry, despite many advances in technology, many parts of this sector are lagging behind and they haven't evolved in the past 60 years. So the simple fact that the chefs do not have this simple digital tool to source the food and compare prices, while as a consumer we can't do anything online, we think is a really good example of how behind it is. So we believe it is so important to find these creative new solutions for this industry because they are quite reluctant to change. And being so far behind compared to other sectors, you can only find creative ways to help them lead the change in transition and adapt little by little.
Yes, and I'm sure that you've experienced this firsthand, as in like this reluctancy of also adopting technology, right? Because on the one end, I guess most restaurateurs probably see it as an enabler of efficiency, right? But on the other hand, I guess as any change, they're quite afraid of what it takes to actually adopt it, right? Can you maybe
Yeah.
expand a little bit on like real live experience of you kind of convincing a client that that's kind of the way to go?
Yeah, so because we're marketplace, we have these two users, the producers and the chefs, and both of them are really creative by nature. You know, the producer, you might be thinking of vegetables, but many of our producers are actually making products, for example, artisanal granola. So they have to use this creative part of themselves also for their packaging and the image. And the chef is the same. You know, they will use these ingredients to create really nice menus and nice dishes. So when you come to them and you talk to them about efficiency, it's really kind of the last thing on the to-do list. What you need to make them fall in love with is more making them see that they will be able to create even better dishes and be even more creative because they will not have to spend the time on the boring stuff.
Absolutely, yes. And Very last question. Well, it's going to be about COVID, I guess, and the impact of the pandemic on the impact that it had on your business. Can you expand a little bit on what parts of the supply chain do you think are in most need of radical new solutions, and how are you at GastroCampo working towards this?
Yep. Yes, I was saying the supply chain really hasn't changed since the past 60 years. So there are many parts of it that really need these radical new solutions. But our view really is that the supply chain needs to be shortened in order to be resilient and adaptable. I mean, the COVID crisis really showed this. We need from field to factory or from farm, the journey of our food before it reaches our place needs to be shorter. It needs to be more transparent, less opaque, and in the end with less intermediaries. Now, don't get me wrong, it's not that intermediaries are bad or unnecessary. In fact, in many cases, they are more than necessary because they do bring added value to the chain, but many also do not. And this is what we're doing. This is what we're changing. We are helping society to treat food as we treat diamonds, like a real treasure. And to do this, we need to know where it comes from, how it was made, what's the impact.
That's awesome. And building on this, what are you most excited about the future of food tech?
Yes, transparency and diversity, definitely. I mean, we love all these plant-based food alternatives, robot chefs and all of this. It's really fascinating. But what we are most excited about is sustainability. And we see it as much more than one unique approach. So we can't wait to see what others are going to do in the food tech so they can match our needs for better food, that works for us as consumers, but for the planet, for animals, and not work against all of that.
This is fantastic, Lea. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. I really enjoyed our chat, and I look forward to continuing to see how GastroCampo evolves in the future.
Thanks. We too.
Thank you.